sleeve from the macrame yarn. Cut off a length about 40 centimeters long and put this aside. Unravel the rest of the yarn from the ball. Bring the two ends together. Find the halfway point of the yarn and bring it together with the two ends. You now have 4 strips of yarn. Fold this into 3 to get the 12 equal pieces required. Snip out the loops to free the 12 strands. Hold all 12 strands together and tie into a knot about 8 inches from one end to secure. Pass the yarn through the wooden hoop and tie into a knot. Take the 40 centimeter piece of yarn you cut earlier and tie this around the bundle just below the hoop with a knot. Fold the shorter section down with the other loose yarns and wrap the longer section around the bundle for about 2 inches. Use a loose yarn to tie into a knot. Trim off the loose ends. Pull a piece of yarn down and cover the knot to hide it. Trim off all the loose short threads. You can follow these instructions on the flat, but it's easier if you can find somewhere to hang it up. You can now untie the knot that you used to initially secure the strands. Take 3 strands and tie them into a knot about 3.5 inches from the base of the tied bundle. Do the same with the remaining 9 threads, so you have 4 knots. Take 2 knots from the previous row and separate the threads. Take the 2 central threads, C and D, and tie together into a knot, 2.5 inches below the previous row. Along to the next 3 strands and do the same thing. Repeat this for the rest of the row. This will leave you with 4 knots of 2 threads with a single thread hanging between them. Now you're going to knot the strands back into groups of 3. Take 2 knots from the previous row and separate the threads. Tie together strands B and C along with the single thread that hangs between them 3 inches below the previous row. Repeat this with the remaining strands. This should bring you back to 4 knots. Take 1 knot from the previous row and separate the 3 threads. Take the central strand and thread this onto a large darning or knitter's needle. Thread the bead and push it up snugly to the previous knot. Wrap the 2 loose strands down around the bead, tying with a knot to secure. If you don't have a darning needle, then poking the yarn through the bead with something pointy works just as well. Repeat with the remaining strands. Repeat with the same steps as you did for row 2. Take 2 knots from the previous row and separate the threads. Take the 2 central threads, C and D, and tie together into a knot 6 inches below the previous row. This should leave you with 4 knots with a single strand hanging between them. For the last knot, tie the entire bundle 5 inches below the previous rows to secure. Then trim off the excess threads.